Kia ora koutou. It's my privilege to be sitting here with Glenn White today. And Glenn, when it comes to breathing, is one of New Zealand's experts in this space. So it's so wonderful to have you in here today, Glenn. Welcome.
Well, thank you for that, Katheren. It's lovely to be here.
Glenn, how did you get into this journey of breathing?
Okay, so I was basically diagnosed with asthma at the age of 2, and I had asthma for 40 years. I took asthma medications that, remember, you know, I'm 64 years old. I didn't even think about that. And so I was the poster boy for all the new asthma drugs that came along. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just asthma drugs that I depended on. I would get constant bronchial affections needing courses of antibiotics. And I took antihistamines, I took nasal corticosteroids. So, yeah, that was my life for 40 years.
Wow.
And then I did a breathing course in the UK in the year 2000. And in 5 sessions, I had my asthma under control. I went from 20 puffs of Ventolin a day down to nothing in about 3 sessions.
Yeah. Did you go into the breathing workshop with that in mind?
I had very little expectation, because the reality is that after 40 years of asthma and seeing all of the specialists I had seen over the years, pediatricians when I was a kid and so forth, I had believed that the only thing that was keeping me alive basically was medication, and I have to say I was very compliant. So when a breathing educator said to me, "Oh no, we can help you with your asthma," I thought, yeah, my expectations were very low. So it exceeded all my expectations, I can tell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems really strange to me that we need to learn how to breathe properly, given that it's such a necessity of life. So there is definitely a wrong way to breathe.
Yep.
And definitely a right way to breathe. Is that correct?
That's right. And it would be a mistake to use our fellow humans as role models, because estimates would suggest that between 80 and 90% of our fellow humans are breathing incorrectly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So to give you an idea, things like dysfunctional breathing would be mouth breathing, you know, habitual mouth breathing, or, you know, symptoms to look for would be things like nasal congestion, runny nose, snoring, sleep apnea, panic attacks. Yep. So these would be the sort of things that would identify someone as needing to do something about their breathing.
Wow, that's really interesting. Certainly in terms of the sleep apnea and panic attacks. So when we're not breathing well, that is going to have an impact on our physiological state.
Yes, and it, you know, like things like asthma, for example, you'll often hear it said that, wow, you know, people with asthma obviously have a dysfunctional breathing pattern, but they're not breathing enough. The great paradox is with people with asthma is that in between attacks, they're actually over-breathing. They're breathing too much.
So you can over-breathe?
Absolutely.
How do we over-breathe?
Oh my God, that's opening a real Pandora's box, isn't it? So it could be just simply by breathing through the mouth instead of the nose. The nose is purpose-built for breathing in and out of the nose. We are not designed to breathe through the mouth.
Well, why is the nose such a powerful mechanism for bringing in air?
Okay, so the nose is purpose-built. It's a convoluted little air passage, or air passages, I should say. You know, we have little hairs in our nose to filter. We have mucous membranes that humidify the air that goes in.
Right.
It's nice and convoluted, so it warms the air before it gets into the lungs. And believe it or not, the nose even produces nitric oxide, which is a germicide, which kills germs if we inhale gently through the nose.
That is fascinating.
Yep. So
wow.
By the time that air gets to the lungs, it's warmed, it's filtered, it's sterilized. And so nose breathers have this wonderful advantage that they can basically, filter and clear out a lot of the stuff that might be in that air to deliver nice sterilized air to the airways.
So Glenn, if somebody notices that they are a habitual mouth breather, what's one thing that they can start to do to transition from mouth breathing to nose breathing?
Well, probably one of the first things to consider is raising our awareness. Do we know? And let me give you a clue. For example, if you notice the way I speak, it might, once you really get an insight into what I'm doing, I'm trying not to breathe in through my mouth. Most people, when they speak, it's in through the mouth. And imagine how much unfiltered air you take in as you speak.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. And I mean, the other thing is just ask someone, or just consider, can I easily breathe through my nose? Do I breathe through my nose at night? Do I snore? Ask ourselves, because we have to raise our awareness first. And once we've raised our awareness, then we can start making the conscious changes to our breath, to our breathing, that could make a difference.
I'm finding myself feeling very self-conscious here, especially as I go to talk now. I'm thinking, oh gosh, am I gulping for air with this? So, Glenn, if we were to give our viewers one tip over and above what you just said there, because I think that's an exceptional tip for us to start to be thinking about, one additional thing that we could start to focus on, what would that be in regards to our breathing?
Okay, well, it's such a big subject, but the first and foremost thing to do would be to see how easy it would be for us to breathe in and out through our nose. Not only when we're sitting at a computer, but perhaps when we're walking to school or to the office, breathing in and out through the nose. And for those of us who indulge in physical activities like running, can we run breathing through the nose? And just start, that's a wonderful place to start, just to see if we can start encouraging that good breathing habit. We'd call that the number one breathing habit to develop. Yeah.
Now, Glenn, you've got the Buteyko Breathing Clinic, and Buteyko in itself seems like quite a mouthful to pronounce. So tell us a little bit about what is Buteyko Breathing? What is it all about?
Okay, well, it was the Buteyko method of breathing retraining, if we want to use the full term, was developed by Katheren Leitner back in the 1950s. And he realized that people with conditions like asthma, particularly he was very interested in asthma, but also cardiovascular issues like hypertension and sleep disorders, were often caused or exacerbated by people with a dysfunctional breathing pattern, specifically over-breathing. So the program he developed consists of breathing exercises and lifestyle guidelines to try to retrain that breathing to a better place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you currently run the courses out of your clinic in Ponsonby, Auckland?
Yeah, that's right. So I've been operating out of there since 2001 and had thousands of people go through my clinic.
Yeah.
Oh, I should add too that there are now about 12 published studies of the Buteyko method for asthma that show how effective it is. So it's out there.
Well, on that note, Glenn, I think what we need to do is, it seems like we're only just starting to touch the surface here. And so, our commitment to our community is to have our community breathe easy. The whole concept of suffering from asthma is something that we find quite intolerable. And so I think that I'd love to pick up some more conversations with you so that we can let our audience know ways in which they can improve their breathing, not just for themselves but for their whole family, because without question, in terms of breathing and dealing with the stresses of day-to-day living, when we're not breathing well, we're not living well. And so with that, I'm really going to look forward to being back with you all, being here with Glenn and asking Glenn some more questions that enable us all to start breathing more effectively so we can maximise the way we live. Ka kite anō, look forward to catching up with you all again.
Yeah, I look forward to coming back as well.